What were you trying to do with the film?
We kind of went into it not really knowing what was going to happen. It's not a documentary, it's not like a hardcore surf film. It's just kind of an adventure, really, a little journey that my experiences of 6 months in Indonesia.
Being a famous surfer, despite the concept that you're sort of out in nature, you end up living under a microscope in a way and are, is this fair to say, like surrounded by people at all times. So one might think that you have a lot of time on your own, but but it sounds like you don't.
I mean, being a pro surfer, yeah, you are constantly under a microscope.
Yeah.
And it can be pretty intense at times, and that's kind of, I guess, part of the reason for getting away. You know, it's like, but it's kind of weird too, because I was still documenting it all, and I'm traveling, you know, with a film crew.
Yeah, right.
And you know what else is being in the water.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you really like remove yourself.
Yeah.
That's like the most serene place.
I would imagine people like being able to surf around you is a pretty cool thing.
You got to be able to get away.
Right.
To have those moments when you're surfing by yourself and like you just kind of really connecting, doing what you do. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be those moments where it's like anyone could paddle out. Right. And sit right next to you. Yeah. And drop in on the same wave as you just to say, man, I dropped in on Kelly Slater today. Think about it. How many sports can you just like walk out on the court with like Kobe Bryant and like steal the ball from him, you know? And like, you know, yeah. What?
It's beautiful in a way.
Yeah, hello. Kelly calls one day and wants to surf this new sandbar in Kuta. I guess everyone else heard about it too. He has this amazing ability to make it feel like he's surfing alone, even when there's a lot of humans in the water. I, on the other hand, have a hard time dealing with those situations.
The movie, I sort of see you got like a motorcycle, surfboard, and backpack. Like it's pretty minimal.
It was another challenge, really. Mm-hmm. It was like, hey, you have a backpack. Like whatever you can fit in it is what you take. Mm-hmm. You know, and it was. I mean, I traveled. There was points when my shirt smelled pretty bad. Let's just put it that way.
I didn't notice it was the same shirt.
It's the same shirt. I wore it for
yeah.
A long time, and it, you know, I mean, but that's what I chose to do, and I chose to be super minimalist and just take really what I needed, and it really makes you appreciate when you come back to your world that you live in, say in California, and you just kind of look at all this stuff, you know, because I was in Indonesia off and on for a year, and there for 6 months. So when you come back after that long, you look at all this stuff like, I don't even remember like having like most of the, you know.
Right. How important is it if I don't even remember that I actually own it?
Right. Yeah. If I didn't think about it for a year or like worry about it, and there was actually a point right before I started filming where these big fires blew through Southern California.
Oh, right.
I got a phone call like, what do you want out of your house?
Whoa.
That's pretty interesting.
That is pretty
It's an interesting question, you know? You're like,
yeah.
Wow, you know? Like,
what'd you say?
What do I want? And I honestly started thinking about it, and I was like, you know, maybe that surfboard that one guy, you know, like, there was a couple surfboards that I was like, they were like really special to me, and I'm like, maybe a couple of those boards, but besides that, you know what? Like, I'm cool.
For me, it would be like stuff, irreplaceable sort of memory things.
What do you really need in the end, you know?
Airplanes are terrible. They emit a ton of carbon. So that's on the negative side. On the positive side, that it does, and this has certainly taught me, like you realize by having to travel and cutting down the stuff that you need, you realize how little you really need. So that's probably maybe the silver lining
positive,
of
the positive side to the travel. I agree. Yeah, I was telling my friend the other day. I said, "Why don't you just turn your phone off for a couple hours?"
Heresy.
It's that simple, really. Yeah. It's like this thing won't stop ringing, and like if you just turn it off,
it'll stop ringing.
And then just like lay down and relax, and like really have like a moment, like just time to like really just think about what you need to think about.
It's all about not being happy with where you are, essentially, or trying to be two places at once instead of like just being in one.
Like, you know, it's like we just turned off all our phones so we could talk.
Right.
Like we're not thinking about anything else or getting distracted. It's like it's good. How often do people do that? I was eating dinner last night by myself. I enjoy doing that every once in a while. Totally alone, just in a restaurant. You just kind of observe and you really just look around and like take in all the surroundings, right? And I couldn't help but notice these two ladies sitting next to me, and they were talking and doing that, like, you know, texting or doing whatever. It's just like, wow.
Be in one place.
Yeah.
Try it.
I get asked that question, like, what do you think about when you're riding a wave? You know, it's like, that's actually one of the few things I do in life where I don't think at all. It's like, you go into this state of where you're just doing and you're not thinking. There's those times when you're sitting out there and but you're also like in such a beautiful environment most of the time. You know, like usually you're in, like, say it's in Hawaii, or say we're in Indo. You're just like out, and you're either looking at waves breaking somewhere else, like coming towards you, or you're just out in the ocean. The water's clear, it's blue, the sky. It's like you have so much, like you're surrounded by so much, and you're so disconnected that it helps you. It makes it that much easier to get into that state. Right. When you do stand up on a wave, you're just like, oh. You know. There's a line in the movie, it's like, sometimes when you're most alone, you're not alone at all. And that's like when you do remove yourself from civilization, basically, from, you know, your cell phone, and you totally isolate yourself. And when you're really, truly alone, that's when everything else, it actually gives you time to dig like deeper into yourself, to deal with that, to deal with those, whatever that is. You know, kind of the stuff that you constantly bury with your cell phone and with everyday life. It's kind of a play on words, I guess, you know, because when you are finally do have that alone time is when you kind of got to deal with yourself.